before we get into the science, because we were talking about people seeing UFOs, and I'm hoping Lisa's audio comes through.
I'm hearing her okay now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's breaking
I'm
up.
here.
I'm here. Yeah.
All right, Lisa. So you had a UFO encounter there on the left coast. What year
Yes.
approximately was this?
Well, it wasn't an encounter. It was a sighting. It was in 2017
Wow, not too long
in
ago.
January. Yes. And it was New Year's night. I was sitting in my living room, and I have a great big picture window in the living room, and I was looking. I just happened to be looking out, and I saw this bright green object. And first, it was a quick flash, and then it slowed down, and it slowly began to lower towards the earth. And there was a bright neon green tail to it, and then the head of it was, once I kept looking at it, I realized it was egg-shaped, and I could see like air swirling around it at the part that was the closest to the ground. And it just, the with the tail flumes and the head, it looked like a giant neon green arrow, and it was just slowly lowering towards the earth. And unfortunately, I couldn't tell exactly where it was above the ground, because there's so many trees, but there's also open field. So I think something was landing, and it was landing in one of the open fields around here.
So
yeah, and then what? I mean, I know it's New Year's Eve, and
Yes, it was about
so I mean,
12:05 p.m.
were you
a.m.
celebrating? I mean, were you imbibing throughout the evening?
Well,
I mean, I'm
fair
not saying that's
question.
it. But I
Fair
just want to
question.
know the full circumstances of this sighting.
Well, I actually was not.
Oh, okay.
how
But
long
that's a
did
fair question, right?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
you do live up in Chico, so that's
Northern
a lot of
California.
crazy things are going on up in Chico. But my question is, how long did this whole encounter observation take? Was it all in a few minutes, or did it last like a half hour?
No. It was unfortunately it was pretty quick. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe to a
Okay.
minute. But
Yeah.
I wanted to run and get my camera so bad, but I didn't want to leave because I was afraid that when I got back, it wouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely. Huh. I mean, that's the problem I have. I mean, and it's because, and you wonder like why, like, what purpose would they have landing in a field for like 5 minutes and then leaving again? Like
Well,
there was some sightings in Australia where these two, and it was 50, so it was the class.
well,
It wasn't a flashing light, but it was the classic UFO saucer thing that you saw in the 50s. That was very popular, right? But it landed, and there's like 30 kids, grade school kids, like between 7 and 12, so they're still alive, right? It was like in the 60s or something, and it came and it hovered, and then it left. It's like,
collecting
what?
evidence. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like,
No, but you're
what were the
assuming that,
aliens thinking? What were they weren't refueling. What were they weren't
right?
getting, maybe there was no Costco nearby. I mean,
They're
what would
studying us.
Yeah,
for
so
like
that
5 minutes, and then they go away. Yeah, I don't know.
so
Well, but
Lisa, let me
in
ask you a question.
in
So
my incident though, it did not disappear. It landed. I
All right.
I saw nothing leave the area. It was there and it lowered to the ground and then
Okay. So my question, Lisa, is how did you feel afterwards? Were you shaken? Were you scared? Were you excited?
I was excited. I was like, I wanted to. My roommate was asleep, and I wanted to go. I should have yelled to wake him up, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I would have, because I.
So was it mostly like a light, or what did it? Was it a classical saucer?
It was.
Did it
It was
have a
not.
definite form?
It was not a classical saucer. It was definitely egg-shaped. There were no flashing lights, but it was luminescent, just a bright green.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So maybe they have the newest model. Maybe we're getting new ones. Because I mean, you didn't see those in the '60s, right? But it doesn't.
Well,
It
there
doesn't.
was.
Yeah. So
And
I mean, could it have been something other than a spaceship? Could it have been a spectral phenomenon like a ghost or a spirit, or if you, you know what I mean? I mean,
I don't think so. I would not describe it that way.
All right. So,
okay.
Lisa, my next question is, so after this, you were kind of excited and stuff. You had one or two choices. You could not tell anybody about it, or you could tell everybody about it. And I know that this was the first time I've heard this story, although you did mention that you had seen one, but I didn't want to hear the details. Were you telling people or not? Because that's a big thing. A lot of people, especially military, when they encounter it, they don't speak up. They don't want to be labeled as kooky. So
Right.
did you care?
That was definitely a concern of mine. I told a friend, David, you know her, but I told a friend of mine, and she told me about the organization MUFON, which now I forgot what that stands for, but it's MUFON. And I was contacted, or I Googled them and emailed them. I was emailing with a woman from that organization, and I was telling her what I saw. And then we talked on the phone, and she wanted me to draw a picture of what I saw. And me not being an artist, I didn't know if I could do that. And I was like, well, where's my bright green Sharpie? I need a bright green one. But...
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you were looking through glass, right? Into a night sky. So I mean,
right.
Do you have any idea that it could have been a reflection from something outside or inside? And I mean, and so, I mean, to say it's unidentified doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial. Or do you think?
True.
Do you think it's extraterrestrial? I mean, could there be any other explanation for it? I mean, it'd be hard to. I mean, I'm not saying it's. You know what I mean? Is it?
Yeah.
Was it like a spirit? Was it a spiritual thing? Did you feel anything spiritual happening?
No, I did not. If it was a reflection, I would think that number one, I would have seen it before, or I would have seen it since. If it were simply a matter of a reflection, I didn't have any lights on inside, except for the TV was on, but it wasn't pointed at the window.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I could see light outside as well.
Here's my last question. And this is something that is kind of personal to me, because I saw some weird stuff when I was a little kid, and I was with some people that were smoking pot, and they saw some crazy stuff. So I saw it too, and we went looking for it, this, that, and the other. And I'm not that confident that we saw anything unusual, but my question to you is, Lisa, do you look at the stars often? Do you go outside at night? Because I do. I'm always looking at the stars, hoping that I would see something. And the night sky, if you've looked at it recently, is just full of stuff. You've got Elon Musk constellation satellites. You've got airplanes. There's just tons of stuff going on up there. But I still look. Do you look? Do you look to see if you can see it again?
I do look, but the sky here, you know, it's not even as it's just not. It's not great for. It's not dark enough. It's not great for stargazing where I'm at, and there's a lot of trees blocking the night sky at times.
So so my problem with ufology, and it's because I think there's a psychological aspect to it. I think there's some people who, what I call ufophilius, people who love the idea of there being aliens, and it's almost, people can get into a religious aspect of it. And there's people who, like me, who have a euphobia. I mean, we're like afraid of aliens and people coming down and interfering with us. Like, the same reason why I don't like religion, right? I just we got to solve problems on our own. So I have a tendency to be skeptical, but it's mainly because I just don't want them to exist, right? So it's like, which isn't really being fair, right? But my problem is that there's always a lot of one-off individual sort of like Christian witness, right? It's like, but there's no consistent pervasive evidence, right? It's like a spaceship that actually comes down and they put it in the Smithsonian, or you're standing behind a alien from Alpha Centauri on the line to Costco or something. There's nothing persistent, right?
Well, in Roswell, they have the alien museum, and it's pretty persistent. Those aliens, it's so crazy. They have aliens in the stores, and you can look at them and stuff.
Well, but they have green cards, right?
Well, because that's where the Roswell incident was in 1940. But anyway, let's talk about.
Can I just say, I wasn't doing anything, and I know what I saw. And I looked in the night sky to see either something like that again or something else, and I haven't seen anything else since. And that was actually my third UFO sighting while being up here in Chico.
Right.
Yeah, I was an alien. I'd go to Chico first.
Yeah, I spent
the first place I would go.
The Pacific Northwest.
I spent the 90s in the Chico. Great place.
But the Pacific Northwest is supposedly kind of a hotbed for UFO activities, I guess.
Yeah, because everybody there is stoned, right? But I think it's also that it's like if my stealth technology was failing, right, and I know I'm going to have to appear to people on Earth, I would go to Chico.